It's Monday night, and that can only mean one thing. A new episode of The Last of Us. Last of Us is out. And one question, did you endure and survive? And if you did, buckle up and get ready for the next hour as we introduce some special guests tonight and get ready to talk pretty much the middle of the season. We're at the middle of the season of The Last of Us. We're more than halfway there. And holy moly, is this going to be a big one to talk about tonight. But before we get into the meat and the potatoes, let's introduce our special guest tonight. I'm really excited. A member of the Nearing Nirvana crew, who are big fans of The Last of Us. We want to welcome Mama Comics.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm really excited, and I was telling you, I hope you guys don't hate me. Not gonna have me back again.
I'm so looking forward to this because I know you guys are devout Last of Us fans.
Yes.
And getting your take on where the series is going is going to be really cool tonight.
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty excited to talk about this. I'm nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. This is going to be a whole lot of fun. And I'm ready for the next guest. Are you?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm really excited because this is another special guest tonight. And probably the biggest Last of Us fan in the entire universe.
Damn, bigger than you? What?
Oh yeah. It's Savannah. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. You know me. Last of Us is my thing. Anything Last of Us, I am down for. I'm so excited to be on.
I'm so nervous to be with big mega fans of The Last of Us.
Obsession. That's the word of the day. Obsession, right?
The healthy obsession.
Healthy
yes.
obsession.
Yes. And for those of you guys that have not met Savannah yet, you can find her at the Spooky Seance down below, and you can find Mama Comics over this way at the Nearing Nirvana crew on Instagram. And Nearing Nirvana has a YouTube channel as well, don't they, Mama?
Yes, we do. We go live, the girls and I, tomorrow, Tuesdays and Fridays. Tomorrow we're covering Casey Lane since the new movie is coming out. So check us out tomorrow at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time near Nirvana.
Awesome. Look forward to it. Really enjoy the content that you guys drop every week. So don't miss out.
Thank you.
Everybody watching to catch that. And Savannah, tell us really quick before we get into the episode about the Spooky Seance.
Yeah, so I have a little small business. It's called the Spooky Seance on Instagram and Etsy. And basically what the Spooky Seance is I make handmade nostalgic charms and accessories for like purses, backpacks, bags. So you can find anything nerdy like Pikachu, Pokemon. Oh, there it is.
I started following you. Cute.
Yes, I know I have to follow you. So I have like anything like ramen and just anything nerdy and geeky you're gonna find on there. Some crazy stuff too. I've got like chicken nugget charms and stuff. It's pretty insane.
I'm really excited because I'm hoping that maybe when I pop on the Etsy shop one of these days, there might be a couple of Last of Us charms. I don't know. Not pressuring you or anything, but if I see anything, we're gonna be buying some.
Yes, I got you.
Well, last but certainly not the least of the group is our brother, Double O. Welcome, buddy.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to our special guest. I'm so excited to talk about this episode, and I'm so happy to talk to you guys about it. I know we're all fans, so this is going to be super fun.
I'm really stoked tonight. We're going to kind of like not really add a lot of structure. We're going to keep it organic, but kind of the idea is we could talk about how this episode kind of stacks up against the others and what the rating is. And then when we're done with that, we can kind of get into 2 or 3 of the subsections, kind of the meat and potatoes with the Henry and Sam portion, the Joel and Ellie, and the kind of the Kansas City crew, kind of take a look at that. And I'm curious if you guys have been checking out any of the other sites that track TV shows and movies like IMDb or anything else, because this is on IMDb is the highest rated episode so far of the season, but it's also the least reviewed. So I'm kind of curious as we go around the horn, whoever wants to pick this up, initially what your thoughts were before the show and after.
Okay.
So I think it's probably the least reviewed because it was on yesterday. And unless you're really into it, like you didn't know that it was aired Friday. And so a lot of people probably were tuning into the game and not paying attention. So I know I even heard a couple people say they're still going to catch up on this episode this week. I had a couple people text me that, oh, I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it today. So that's probably part of the reason why it hasn't been reviewed. I don't know if that's the full reason, but that's definitely what I was thinking.
Well, that's true. See, I didn't even think about that stuff that because of the Super Bowl is throwing everybody off. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, the Super Bowl, they pushed the episode to Friday at 9 p.m. instead of waiting till Sunday, obviously during prime time for the big show. And people are still playing catch up. A lot of people dedicated the whole weekend to the Super Bowl. So will that score that we saw on IMDb of was it 9.6. It's like the highest out of the season with about 37,000 reviews before we went live tonight. And last week's episode, a week later or 2 weeks later, or week and a half, is I think that one was around 40,000 votes. And this one is already at 36 to 37. So it's not too far behind. But then again, how much stock can you really put in IMDb grading, you know?
At least people are watching it. So that gives you a judge of if they're responding to it. That means there's a good chunk of people watching it. So as far as the grades go, you want to talk about giving the episode a grade?
I do.
So for me, this was probably my favorite episode that's been on so far. And I would give this my highest rating so far, and I think that will put it at a 9.6 if we're going CGC. 9.6. I don't know if I've given any of the episodes that so yet. So I'm up there. There was a couple little nitpicky things, but I mean this episode was close to. 9.8's the best, right? So like this episode is the closest to that I've gotten to so far. For me.
I want to hear what Mama Comics is going to say.
Now I'm scared to say it.
Oh my God, no judging. Whatever you like or don't like.
For me, it was okay. CGC, it'll be like 7.7 or 7.5.
7.5.
Yeah. Kind of. I guess I'm kind of being a little harsh on it. Because for me, it was a little disappointing. So, but yeah, that's just me for this one. I know so many people love this episode. I'm like, oh.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
Can you put up the banner?
Oh. Yeah, good call, because I forget it every week. Spoiler mode is activated.
This was my favorite episode too, for many reasons, but I would definitely give it a 9.6. I think my favorite part about it was obviously the bloater. I mean, like one of my all-time favorite characters, since the spoiler thing is on, is the bloater and the Rat King from part 2. So yeah, I was super, super excited to see that bloater. I was like screaming. So yeah.
Yeah, that part was awesome. I did like that.
I loved how they kept with the just like the in-game kill when the bloater kills someone, he like rips the jaw apart. I love, and they did that to the guy that played Tommy, actually.
I know.
Tommy, and I thought that was the best way for him to go out. So that was pretty cool.
I'm pretty sure he was excited to go out like that. Like,
oh yeah.
And I'm surprised they kind of showed it, like, because it was not super focused. Like, yeah, it was just kind of like in the back. I guess. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah. So how you wanna you Andy?
Yeah, let me pull that up, because that is definitely like the scene of the episode was paying homage to the video game. And to touch bases on that really quick, I like how they made it the bloater wasn't just something to be knocked over. It was a big giant bullet sponge of a fungus, and it took a lot to knock that thing down, and they never even put a
They
dent in it.
didn't. Yeah.
So thankfully it's kind of blurry because it's an action scene, and this is the scene of the game for a lot of people. I mean,
yeah.
right to a point, right to a T.
Look at that thing back there. Oh my god.
That one for me, like definitely 9.8. Definitely. Like I wish it was more clear and tapered out, you know. So that's why if not, it would have been a 10. But obviously that was like, oh
Yes. I think the other thing that was like the icing on the cake of this episode is that they literally had a kid as a clicker. I mean, are you kidding me right now?
Creepy
That
as
little
hell.
girl rocked.
Yeah, they hinted at it a little bit based on what happened to Tess's family or the potential backstory that could be hitting the show. This is definitely the scene of the show for this. This steals it right here, and we'll return to that in a moment. But I think I've got to buck the trend a little bit here and give this overall cinematically. I thought it was amazing, but I've got to give it like a 9.2. I felt like they are trying to do too much in too little of a space or too little of a time.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a little worried that we're down to 4 episodes and they've got a lot of ground to cover. And if all of the last 4 episodes are like this, as crunched and as compact as they are, is it written well? Yes. Is it filmed well and directed well? I think so, but like for the masterpiece that this story is, part 1, I don't feel like they're really doing it as much justice as they could have, instead of just wrapping this up in 9 episodes. So I'm with Mama here that I have some concerns that I hope are bucked, and it's not a trend that continues into the tail end, because we all know how important the tail end of the season is.
Yeah.
100%. There's a lot more to cover in these next 4 episodes, and that's what we talked about that a little bit last week too. Was where are they going to get to? Like, how far are they realistically going to get to the end? I don't know how they could do it, but they're going to have to skip a lot to do it.
And see, that's what, like, okay, episode 3, loved it. You know, we cried. It was beautiful and everything, but I feel like, I mean, and we're not here to talk so much about, you know, episode 3, but I just feel like if that could have done that in 30 seconds, and then 30 seconds, 30 minutes, and then the rest of Joel and Ellie get back to the story, they could have added more to, you know, of their journey. Even though like that, I mean, I feel like even that it could have been its standalone thing, you know. It could have been that you could have show him and then maybe do a little story on the side just about Bill and Frank, and so we can see more, so they doesn't feel so rushed, because this episode for me, it feels super rushed, and compared to the last episode, it was slow, and again, I was a little disappointed, you know, that you didn't see after leaving Bill and Frank's house to where they got to the city. No, they didn't run into just one, you know, no clicker, no nothing, you know. By that time, you know, I mean, for me, like comparing it so much, I guess, you know, it's like they have gone through so much, and it shows like how badass Joel is, and you know, and we're not seeing so much of that, you know. So I don't know. That's
that bond, that era, or that bonding of Joel and Ellie that takes place is kind of getting crushed and condensed a little bit, where we could be seeing a lot more. In honesty, episode 3, leave it the way it is and make this a 12-episode season.
That would be okay.
Or condense it like you said and make that a spin-off series. You could do an entire show of just Bill and Frank. In all seriousness, 2-3 seasons of just Bill and Frank could have been its own thing. But we're also devout believers and fans of the Last of Us universe. The people that control the money and the books and the paperwork that goes along with this aren't in the same fashion. They might not have the same beliefs or feelings about a spin-off series about Bill and Frank. But that's where.
So one thing, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, man, because I was starting to spin gears.
So I one of the things that I've learned to do as I've been watching over these past few episodes is I've been talking to friends and who haven't played the game, who don't know anything about it, who are very coming in just watching the show. And I love hearing their perspective on it. And I love hearing what they think because it's totally like from a completely different point of view, right?
Mhm.
And so seeing it like from that, like I see, well, they expanded this part, they expanded Bill and Frank, but they shrunk this part, they expand, and they don't see any of that, right? Because they haven't know anything of the game. And from some of my friends, and I hear like, oh my God, how do they? This show is. So, I don't know if it's different from the game, but this show is absolutely fantastic. That's the kind of reaction that I'm getting from people. So for me, it's giving people who don't know what this is and giving them eyes on this amazing property, and it's making that fan base that much bigger. So that's part of my, I understand 100% what you're saying. I want more. I want more clickers. I want more. I want more runners. I want more I want more all of it. I was disappointed in episode 3 only because we didn't get the bloater in that episode. Right. That was
Yeah.
my one thing that I knocked it down.
Yeah.
I wanted it then, and
Yeah.
but that being said, I'm appreciating it for that too, where it's giving those people a whole nother set, giving an opening to watch it, and they love it. So I understand that side of it too. So like, I get 100% what Mama Comics is saying. Like they're shrinking these parts that they should have expanded, and I'm right there with you. That's what Savannah and I had talked about before. Like right off the bat. Why are they doing it that way? What do they do? But I do appreciate the fact that they are giving the story a much bigger deal. Like the time they
Yeah.
spent in this Kansas City, like 2 episodes, like
Mm.
that should have been a lot, 45 minutes maybe, like all together. That's all we needed until we met Sam. Like
Yeah.
it just, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Andy. Sorry.
I'm just gonna speaking of the fans that have never played the game before. Josh Oliver, good friend,
Mhm.
has never played the game and he loves the
Yeah.
show. Well, the four of us sitting here are telling you, Josh, man, just wait. When you sit down and play the game, you're gonna love it even more than the show.
Yes. Yes.
It delivers those little extra nuances, and I hear that a lot from people out in public that they've never played the
Yeah.
game. They don't know if they should give the show a shot, or they are giving the show a shot and they really love it. I've got a few friends that are like, I'm not ready for another Walking Dead-esque show. And I'm like, nay, good sir, good lady. This is nothing like The Walking Dead, and you're going to love it. But hey, that's the amazing thing is they've announced a season 2.
Yeah.
Season 2 is officially
Thanks,
announced. But they also released a tweet / everything else on social media where they dropped a picture of Bella Ramsey sitting next to Neil Druckmann on the couch in a writer's room. Savannah's nodding because she saw it today, I bet.
Yeah, I saw that.
They actually talked about how they were going over some of the parts, and one of the things that Bella said in there, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing heavily, was that she's excited because now Ellie has Dina.
Mhm.
And there's so much more that can and should happen in season 2. But I mean, if we've got 9 episodes for season 1 and it's doing this well, I would have to imagine that season 2 would be fleshed out quite a bit more.
Yeah, hopefully it's more than 9 episodes for season 2, or
Yeah.
maybe there's 2 and 3.
See,
Maybe.
I feel like they're rushing it so much. Like, okay, like Manny, he said Bill was straight badass. I wish they would have shown how badass he was.
Yeah.
When he was with Joel and Ellie, like he saved them, and it just, like I wish it would have shown all that. Like obviously they show like he's good, like building his little town and with Frank and stuff like that, but I just wish they would have shown that like a little bit of that part, how they're on their way to get to the city. But yeah, I love Bill was awesome.
I love what Nick just said about the sniper in the house scene. I agree.
Mhm.
I thought that was excellent. I'm not gonna lie, I missed the hunters coming and attacking Joel, And I miss the guy calling out to Joel, the sniper, where are you? Like, I can still see you, I miss that a little bit. But besides that, oh my gosh. Then him going inside the house and then going up and finding that sniper guy. The only thing we were missing is the guy pulling out the knife and trying to stab Joel, but it's okay. He was an older guy. It's all good. I get it. He was still a badass, so it's all good.
So while we're on the topic, and Nick brings up this great comment, we're on the topic of kind of the Kansas City crew. Did anybody else, or was it just me, in that sniper scene in the building when Joel got up there, did they think in the show, could that be their play on Ish? Could that be Ish? Because Lucy, really quick, as we're talking about the Kansas City crew, is as they do the tunnel route, they very neatly picked the Ish storyline out of the game, adapted it to the Kansas City tunnel system, where all of the painting and murals they walked into, that's the community that Ish created with the children, with the families, as he was bringing in. And so we did get that, the Donnie and Ish kind of backstory with the one picture and the soccer goal. And now my brain immediately went to this older gentleman that looked kind of like a salty sailor / fisherman, that his body's all beat up, and the best that he can do to provide value to this Kansas City crew was sit as a lookout and hold a rifle. So my brain thought this was Ish.
Yeah.
And I immediately thought this is what they've turned him into, was just a pigeon, or just a stool pigeon.
That's brilliant, Andy. Like, I didn't even think of that. That's great.
Yeah.
I wonder who he was credited as.
I gotta look.
We gotta look again. So do you have? Okay, sorry. Like, do you have are we going through scenes to scenes, or how are we doing this?
Yeah, we won't go through the entire episode and break down every Easter egg, but any of the big points and topics that we do bring up, I'm gonna try to, thank you for the reminder, pull them up on screen. It's kind of hard to find, and we don't want to get a copyright strike, so we're not gonna play it. But I'll get close and hit play. Bingo! Here we go. This is just this over the shoulder look from him. This poor old soul. I immediately thought Ish.
Wow, that's so smart. Yep.
That makes so much sense.
It has to be him, especially because they showed that note, and they didn't give a lot of clarification. It's got to be it. Now I love it. Now it's a 10 out of 10.
Because in the video game, we get all of the lore, we get all the notes and everything, and at the end we see a body, and if I remember correctly, either there was a note confirming that it was Ish and he did everything he could, or it was left, or as an implied that Ish passed away there
before they get out of the tunnel, right? That's
like right at the end.
I'm trying to put it together. Oh, okay, probably.
Wow.
But okay. So before we get to this, I don't know if you want to talk about that.
We're still talking the Kansas City crew, so whatever the Kansas City or the crew or anything like that.
So when first they meet Henry and Sam, I really like that. Like when it's kind of like, like the game, the way it happened. I did like that. I was like, oh yeah, finally. They did change him to be mute, right? Which I didn't mind that. I thought it was pretty cool. I liked it. And at the end credits, I like that he is mute and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, Death. And I thought it was so cute. I was like, oh, look at him. Like, that's awesome that they added him, and him feeling like, being included and stuff like that. I thought it was pretty cool. And, but I kind of like that it shows that now he depends more of, from his brother. Like they he.
They were connected for sure.
Yes,
like there was no, he was not surviving without him.
Yeah. So I did. Okay, I should have said 8.0, not 7.5. 8.0. Because like little things that I did like, like. And for me, like, main thing is like the rush that it was being rushed, and they cut a lot of parts that I thought it was important for me. That's why I'm like, I go. But then I do like a lot of the stuff that they showed, and like I love the characters. I hate that lady Kayleen. I thought she was pointless. I thought her story shouldn't have not been added. That was just me.
She would have been so cool if she didn't sound like a literal Karen. Like, why did they give her? to do. Like they could have given her a rough, like a Abby, like a
Well,
rough.
because that's the way she sounds in real life. Like that's how she sounds.
Sound
Like.
like
That's how she. That's what me and my husband were saying. Is like, why are these people following her? Like they could. Why they're like listening to her? It doesn't make no sense. Like, and even when they try to do her backstory, just it sounds stupid. Like I was just like,
I don't care.
Yeah.
They told us a story. Oh, we're supposed to. I don't care. Like
I
I
zoned
want.
out
Yeah,
when she was
like
talking.
it's so boring. Like her whole story did not.
that was
I didn't
dumb.
like it.
Yeah, so that's the like thing that I was just like, they could have just said they were ravagers, they were whatever.
Right.
They could have, hunters, like doesn't matter, like, it just when she's telling that story, I was just like, whatever, crybaby.
Blah blah blah. So Manny said it earlier. Manny made a comment earlier at
It's just-
9:14 about Kathleen. Yeah.
Yeah, like yes, and he said he didn't play, so and she's not in the game. I mean, I don't remember her being on the game like at all,
No.
right?
No.
So it's like
No.
so her story was pointless. They could have just say like they're hunters, and she's the leader. That's it. No backstory. There's
And they
no.
killed her, so it's like, okay, well, that was a wasted, like, however long they spent on her. Yeah.
Exactly.
They
right?
definitely portrayed this as a yin and a yang. Her brother, who is gone now, was obviously the leader people
leader.
saw as the leader,
Mhm.
but wasn't necessarily the doer. Whereas she has become the doer, but she's not being seen as a leader. So it was a yin
Right.
and a yang, and they probably fit well together. But this just seemed like a very insecure lady that, or just like throw her arms up. I don't know what to do. So here, I'm going to shoot the doctor because this is the worst thing I can think of right now. And just,
Yeah.
I think the writing was done well. I think the idea of this character in this city, in this position, may not have been the best choice, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I
Yeah,
understand we're not supposed to like her. Like that was part
Yeah.
of it. We're not supposed to like her, so we didn't like her, but I think she took time away from things we could have liked.
Yeah.
Like like we could have had a better villain or a better. And I get like her backstory with her brother.
Runners under the tunnel, like they could have all the time. They could have like spent it while they were, through the tunnels. Like the way that I was telling Andy, like I like that when Sam and Henry separate and he goes with Joel and Ellie, they go. I mean, I'm changing her name. Like they go separate ways, like I like that part. And he has to take care of another little kid, make sure that he stays saved. And Ellie is with, like it's just for me, I really like that part. And I should say one thing. I do some my husband, the one thing I feel that it's kind of ruined it for us is that I sent you a video, Andy, that we were watching again on YouTube, somebody playing, like going back again. Well, since we finished the show, like the episode, we're going back and watching it. And since our memories are still fresh, and it's like we're expecting to see that part on the show. So it's probably taking it a little bit, the experience from the show a little bit away from us. So that's why making me not like some of the parts of being cut.
Right.
So
Right.
it has, with why I'm giving that grade, because I'm like, I want to see this part there, because I love I love the actors, I love their characters, I love the way they're playing it. I want them to play that part.
Yeah, and that's where this Kansas City crew, they look to add a lot of humanity to this episode or to this point in their journey, which is where I felt I derived a lot of that from the Ish storyline without there being a bunch of extra characters with the lore, and they could have done that a little bit differently. Thankfully, they did pull that and imparted a little bit, but that's how I really got the humanity side of things in the game, whereas they tried to put several characters and put a face and have us try to not just have ownership in that, but understanding and compassion. And this whole storyline was 11 days from when they overthrew Fedra to the point where we get Joel and Ellie entering the city, and then you get Ham Sam and Henry, because I combine names
You
again.
see, now you're like me, changing names.
We'll just affectionately know. We affectionately know them now as Ham,
And
but
Ham.
Sam and Henry. This, I think, was one of the top 2 or 3 highlights of the episode was how masterfully well they did this. And if you guys are like me and you've listened to the official podcast already, Craig Mazin actually had come up with this idea called Neil Druckmann. And essentially Neil Druckmann said, "You motherfucker." He's like, "Why did I not think of this before you? This was perfect."
Yeah.
This adds a tremendous amount of humanity because, you know, you sit and watch shows like The Last of Us and Walking Dead, and you're like, the reality of it is there's so many other human beings out there with that speak via sign language or foreign language or other languages, or people with disabilities, or people, you know, how does the 7.5 foot tall pro basketball player handle hiding in a sewer? You know what I mean? Like this adds more reality to it. It was masterfully done. I want to. Did you guys feel the same way?
No, yeah,
100%.
yeah, no, I did like this. See, like, there's a lot of stuff that I did love, and obviously, I really liked this. That it was different, and I really liked it. I liked it a lot.
I love what Mama Comic said too about like that scene where they're in like the gutter, you know, and then like they get separated, and Henry goes off with Ellie, and Sam goes off with Joel. I think that would have been such an excellent addition, just like you were saying, you know, especially because, you know, Sam is deaf. You know, can you imagine Joel interacting with him and trying to find ways to interact with him? I think that would have been like amazing. Like telling him, like trying to communicate to him, you know, there's a clicker over there. We have to move fast. We have to slow. You know, I think that would have been really, instead of focusing on Kathleen, that would have been cool.
Yes. See, yeah. Sorry, I'm like turning you. No, just kidding.
Well, this is why we get together and do these things, because the more variety is the spice of life. When you get a variety of opinions and ideas, then we all begin to kind of open up and see from different perspectives, and kind of like, oh yeah, you know, that could have been a little bit different or a little bit better.
Yeah. You see, like what the halfway the episode, when was it? I think they were still on the tunnel, and I think I messaged you, Angie. Now I'm calling you Angie. Sorry. And I'm like, are you watching? I'm like, I'm not liking it. I think so. I told somebody else. I'm like, I'm not liking this episode. Like it, you know, they're just there, like where the little school is at, like where they show that there were people there living, and they just get to hang out there. I was like expecting Run or Click or something to come out.
Agreed.
You know? Yeah, I was just waiting for it, and nothing. I was like, they get out, and I was like, what? I'm like, what? That's it? Like, they're so fast. Like, I was just like, ugh. And then
Yeah, they're condensing too many things like that for sure. They could have elongated that part a little bit and given us less time. I don't like about Kathleen's backstory.
Yeah, agreed. They could have added more backstory to the Donnie and Ish aspect into the creation of this. Instead, what they did is, paraphrasing lightly, is they walk into this and Joel's like, yeah, I remember hearing about how people drove themselves underground into these encampments at the beginning and lasted as long as they could, and somebody either forgot a door open or somebody got infected, and then everybody passed. Whereas there was this beautiful backstory of Ish and how he fought to survive, and then the connections that he made visiting other communities while he hunted and gathered, looking for supplies, and ran into the child and the mother, or the 2 children and the mother that were left behind by the father that went out hunting for food or looking for food, who got scooped up by Fedra and got turned into a Fedra soldier. And then like that whole backstory was beautifully done and added a lot of humanity. Whereas this, it kind of cuts it down to, yeah, they just drove themselves underground and hid as best as they could.
Yeah, condensed it. But in this part, though, I did love the little Easter egg they gave us on the wall.
Yes, if I can find it. So there's several, actually. There's a couple, and one of which is the house rules are posted exactly as they are from the video game.
Mm-hmm.
which was really cool. And right next to that, if I can grab it without, it's going to take a second to find it. It's so much easier to sometimes just let it play the 5 or 6 seconds in the background than to try to find the actual 1 or 2 frames that were devoted to that.
We were watching and it goes by so fast, and I was just like, "Oh, did you see it?" And she was like, "No, I didn't. What was it?" And then so we actually rewound the episode to go back and freeze frame it to see this little part right here.
Yep, and it's the actual image from the video game. It's the actual drawing. Donnie and Ish from New Kids, our protectors.
So they brought it, they brought things like that in to give us, and I think Druckmann mentioned it somewhere. I don't know if it was after the episode or if it was online somewhere, where he said that was like exactly, it's for you video game fans. This is in there for you.
Yep, it was the post episode interview they do, and also the soccer goal written on the wall. That's pulled right from the game too. You get a little cutscene in the game where they play soccer.
Yeah, you remember that? We did. My husband right away, he mentioned that part of the soccer.
But did anybody else have a sheer feeling of like goosebumps and terror when they talked about the tunnels after they'd spent basically part of the episode before this and part of this episode describing how the Fedra pushed all of the infected underground, and now we're talking tunnels?
Yeah.
Right. Well, you saw in the previous episode, you saw the part of the ground that was going down, and then Sam, was it Sam, the older brother? He explains. Yes. He explains like what Fedra did. They pushed all the infected underground. So you're like, oh God, here we go. We're gonna run into a bunch of infected. But then he says,
"Oh, they're clean."
Yeah.
And they go through them and didn't see anything. That's another thing. Okay, my husband was saying they made him a little bitch because. Sorry, go ahead, Andy.
I just want to interject. This adds to my Ish theory because the tunnel's clean because Ish created that encampment. The people that overthrew Fedra won him over, created a stool pigeon to watch out camp, and now this is how he gets back and forth for supplies. This is
that's
more
good
to my
idea.
More to my Ish theory is they maintain this tunnel to maintain his supply. I mean, who's recharging his batteries?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Who's keeping him fed and keeping him happy enough to sit in that chair and keep watch?
Yeah. You see, but I mean, I think they didn't show how awesome it was. Sam, right? Like it's the older brother, like that. How he was good, like by killing. He's been around for how long? And he said he never killed anybody, only one person. And it's like, come on, you're like with zombies, like the post, like you haven't killed anybody, like unless he doesn't consider them, people, but still, like, he was pretty good. He was a badass, and they didn't show any of that, like him like killing some infected people. Like, I don't know. That's like, they could have showed that he's good. He's able to protect his brother. That was just me.
So the other part that we got here in the sewer encampment area was Ellie first the comic book. We hadn't gotten the comic books until now. Yep. And this was the first time that we see the comic book here, which was pretty awesome because it was the same one that Ellie had read before, so we missed that in like the Bill in the Bill episode.
Yeah. I was gonna say I thought they did, but no, I'm confusing it because they showed it when she's with Bill
in the game. Yeah, in the game she gets it, and then I think you may see like other little things beforehand, but because Joel like picks one, Ellie might like this or something like that in the game. But in the show, this is the first time we see that, and it's her connection with Sam, who also reads the comic books as well. So that was really cool. And then they brought in the Endure and Survive, which is such a big tagline for the game.
Yep, and the title of this week's episode.
Exactly.
I really wish that they would have had some type of like toy or something that Ellie and Sam bonded over, just like that robot that they had in the game. That's the robot that Ellie stole for Sam and put it in his bag. And I feel like that was so meaningful because in part 2, when you look around Ellie's room at the very beginning, can I talk about that? I don't know. Is that okay?
It's spoilers. Spoilers.
Spoilers. Okay. You see his robot in her room, and it just reminds you of him. And I wish there was some type of like, his little board that he wrote on, or something that she.
He
took
could have
with
taken him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That board that he's writing on essentially becomes that totem, but in the show she decides to leave it where he's laid to rest.
And says "I'm sorry" on it, which is very meaningful.
Oh man, that I'm like, oh
Yeah.
Because she talked about in the actual game when they get to the dam, the hydroelectric dam just outside of Jackson, they find another grave, and Joel's comment is it's too small to be an adult, or it's too small of a grave. And Ellie makes a comment of potentially leaving the robot there or paying some sort of homage to that, and Joel tells her no, and that's when she takes it, and you find it in part 2 in her room.
Oh,
We're getting to that tough part,
Oh, man.
but we can't get there. We can't get there without paying some homage to probably one of the best scenes of tonight's show, which was that whole run down the street.
Mhm. Yeah, that's I obviously like on the game, like they're kind of like you can see Joel, he's like inside the house with the rifle, like helping them, and they get attacked, but that's on the game. It's he's first shooting. Is it hunters? I think it was, right? And then the infected they come. But it's kind of the same, like, right, the first they get there, like they get there, and but there's not so much he can do.
Yeah, I mean the only big difference was that it's instead of hunters, it's the group from Kansas City who are kind of being called the hunters. Joel does rush it and then provides that overwatch or that coverage for them to come out. I guess the difference is it's their nighttime in the show, and in the game it was daytime, and it was the noise and the commotion of the hunters with the truck, the plow truck coming through. That commotion and the shooting that they were doing is what brought on the infected that came running down the street from that back area where they came from.
Well, they came like underground.
In the game, I
Oh
gotta
no!
go back and
No!
look.
Oh no! No!
Yeah,
In the game, yeah. No! Sorry, I'm saying.
Yeah, in the game
the
they
show.
just came running because of all the commotion they heard. But then this one they neatly woven into the storyline was them, all the infected being underground. So ipso facto crashing into that.
So, do you remember when they go there, like Caitlin and that other guy, like they show like the ground going up and down? Is that them that finally kind of like ripped? Or
that's a good question.
Because that's what I was thinking. That's what like my husband was mentioning. Like, oh, it was it. Can you remember like when the ground was going like that? I wonder if it was them. That big guy. What is it called? The
bloater.
Yeah. Probably hearing all kinds of crazy stuff happening and the explosion and stuff like that. They find that's when we got excited. Finally, we see more. We see like what's around them and that's happening. Like I got excited for that for that part.
Yeah, see, the number of infected in this episode like was part of the reason. Like I'm like, this episode is awesome. They just kept coming and like coming out of there, and they were just like running and going after. Like this was just holy crap. This was awesome. Like what I wanted, like I said, what I wanted to see, like 2 episodes ago. And but I mean, we got it here, and like after that explosion, which was in the suburbs, and in the suburbs, and then so I was outside of the city, and so after the explosion happened, and then like it had to have been the same, like maybe not the exact same infected, but like they were. That's what that whatever that hole that was the sinkhole was in the town, like. I don't know. That's why I thought we were going to see more infected in the tunnels when they went through, like you said. Because why didn't we see those infected while they were going? Maybe they conveniently went through a different part of the tunnel to get there, where the infected was going in a different
tunnel. We found another tunnel.
Yeah, exactly. So that was a little weird, but
they're not too far outside of the city, and they talked about.
Oh, you can see the city in the back. Yeah.
How the fungus and the spores could travel a mile or two or several miles. So
If they
what
were
we
connected,
probably
yeah.
saw in that basement in episode 2 or 3, I mean, no, 4, what we
4.
probably saw last episode was that fungus tunneling or creating a tunnel. I mean, it's an organism. It's gonna move. It's gonna do things to connect, and for them to be just like you said, just piled up like this, just the sheer volume and sheer amount was absolutely insane.
You know, oh, sorry, I'm going back a little bit. One other thing that I was telling you, Andy, that I wish they would have showed when they get separated, when the truck that Ellie and Joel had to go somewhere else, and Henry and Sam had to go somewhere else because he thinks like they got screwed over, and Ellie has to, they're like by the bridge, and Ellie's like, we have to jump, and Joel's like, no, you don't know how to swim, you'll die, you're gonna drown, like no, and she's like, we have to, and she just jumps, she doesn't care, like we have to save. And then Henry helps them get out of the water, and he's like, oh, I saved you, and like, oh,
Right.
like right there.
Yeah. The conflict, yeah.
Yes, that's another thing. And that's when they go into the tunnels. And they find that boat, and he finds, I think, another letter right there inside the boat. And that's another thing that I was just like, wait, I wish we didn't show that hello, like she could have died, and she's like, no, we're not gonna let rather die drowning. He's like, you'll
Right.
she was like, I know you'll save me, like she knew that Joel's gonna save her.
Yeah,
That's another
Right.
sorry
Right.
that before we
that adds
That's
a tremendous amount of value.
yeah, that's another thing I was just like expecting to see. But again, probably money, it's another, I don't know. I feel like it adds for them, like the bonding too, that he's saving her again, like I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's like the parts of their relationship, like that we talked about earlier, that they're not giving us the time for Ellie and Joel need to bond. That time that Ellie and Joel need to have that connection built, and they're rushing that part. Because of they're giving us other things, but in a way, I mean, yeah, I get that, but they're also like giving us things that we didn't have in the game instead of giving us the same thing that's in the game
We've already watched,
that we've already seen it. Yeah. So I kind of get it, but like, yeah, I want to see them bond, Ellie and Joel, more, but that's coming from, again, us who really love, who want that so much, who want to see them bond.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I guess in a way, though, I mean, think about it, because like in the game, Joel seems a lot harsher towards Ellie. He's yelling at her all the time. He's screaming at her. Remember when she pulled the gun out and he grabbed the gun? He said, "I'm glad I didn't get my head blown off by a goddamn kid." Well, like in the show, he was just kind of like, "Oh, okay, you have the gun. That's great. Thanks for saving me." So I feel like Joel's a lot more mild and more nicer in this show. So I feel like in a way they're bonding more because he seems to have more of a fatherly aspect towards him more so. And then
that's true.
it seems like at the end of the actual game is when he actually started to like, wow, like this is like a daughter to me, as opposed to now he's already bonding with her. They were telling those jokes from, no pun intended, the book.
Oh yeah.
Over there laughing with her. In the game, he'd just be like, "Shut up! Like I don't care at all." Like this is dumb.
That's
so
true.
They are bonding more so, I would say, in the show than they did in the game.
Yeah. He is more humble. Like he is more like has that soft spot on the show than compared to the game. Yes.
Yeah, that's definitely a great observation to make, because we're missing that abrasive, short-handed, quippy comments between both of them. Actually, Ellie, I think, in the game was also very abrasive and short with Joel at the beginning until they started kind of building more relationship. And that's a perfect observation of that fight or flight moment where she's on the bridge and making a choice. I'm jumping. I can't swim. You need to save me. This is our only way out and the only way we're going to live through that.
Yeah.
That's Joel didn't have a choice. She was going, and now he had to make sure that she survives.
Yeah.
And that's really where some of that bonding happens.
Yeah. She put trust in him. She
Right.
trusted him. Yeah.
She had faith.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get that trust through Sam and Henry as well on the shores of the river as they help out too. And this is kind of where when they're diverting from the game a little bit, where it almost becomes a detractor when they take portions and like kind of change the timeline slightly. And the timeline is just changed enough here versus escaping the hunters in Pittsburgh, jumping off the bridge, getting rescued on the side of the bank, and then the Ish storyline to what's next, where it's almost shifted around just enough to where now what's next is essentially after this what would be like the radio tower in the game.
Yeah.
But we're going to Jackson, right? I mean, that's the next.
That's next, but
That's
as
next.
far as where we want to talk right now, we can finish up with the bloater and the scene with all the infected, and then move on to what is affectionately our radio tower scene here at the end of the episode.
I know. Look, one thing. Okay, you know the little girl. It gets inside the car, right?
Oh yeah.
When Ellie is inside,
Oh.
that the way she moves
Yeah.
was
In
creepy.
real life, that little girl that played that little girl clicker is actually a contortionist in real life. So she's a gymnast and a contortionist. So she can move her body really like crazy. Like she can bend back, she can like do crazy stuff because in real life she's a contortionist. So
That's crazy. Look at it.
I
She
know.
was so creepy. So
Oh my gosh,
gross.
she was crazy. I loved her. She was my favorite character out of this whole thing so far.
And
But,
you guys,
okay,
Cringe.
is
you
she a
guys-
clicker, right? She
Yep.
can't see, or she have only like she can't see, right? So how does she know where to go to Ellie? Because she's not really making sound.
It looked like only half of her head was infected, right?
So
So
she
I
can
think
see, you can see with one eye.
Yeah.
yeah,
So she's all like, "Where are you, girl?"
yeah, one eye.
I hear you in there. Where are you?
it's hard to
Oh,
catch,
yeah.
but she's almost fully clicker.
Yeah, she's almost
Yeah.
full because you can see
Oh,
her
gotcha.
hair. Oh,
But if you remember, like they talked about how clickers use echolocation.
Right.
Well, in this tight knit of a space, echolocation,
There's a
a
car.
clicker could clearly see a human standing or sitting in that bench seat up front, moving around, or it wouldn't take much in that small of a space.
That was
I
gave
have
me
a
the.
question for you guys. I
Yeah.
have a question, and this is something in my whole Last of Us lifetime that I've wondered, okay? And I haven't figured it out, so maybe you guys can help me figure it out. You know, like there's like a bunch of infected all together, right? They're underground, wherever they are. They hear each other, you know, they hear the clicker hears the other clicker. Why don't they kill each other? Why is there not just one left? In the big mass of bloater and infected and nastiness down there, and this little girl, why doesn't this little girl freak out and start killing other infected down there to eat? You know, like what makes the infected immune to other infected?
Is it the blood?
Well,
Because I mean, if they were able to smell blood, they would attack even if they can't see.
Right.
Well,
right.
They do comment about the
Let me ask
cordyceps
my husband. Hold on. let me
being
see what he thinks.
connected. They talk about how the fungus is connected to one degree or another, so there must be some form of communication or awareness from that standpoint.
Right. So in the show, when she cut, like in the first or second episode, when she cut that lady's body, like all those tendrils, there was like it was all fungus inside of her body. So
Yeah.
it turned her whole body into a fungus. So like maybe they don't survive on other fungus to live. They have to get other things.
Oh, yeah, my husband was just saying the same thing.
Okay.
Awesome. Okay. I
There
always
you
wanted to
go.
know that. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because he did say with the game the same thing where he's like, yeah, that's what I was asking. He's like, but maybe like as you were saying, he was saying the same.
Nice. Nice.
Like, yeah, it makes sense. That's awesome. Okay, Andy. So where are we going now? Which one?
I just want to take a moment to say how much I appreciated her running and dodging through the street with a knife in her hand, and it looked just like gameplay in a couple of areas when you're dodging the infected. I'm like, this was masterfully done right there. That was really good. But
yes.
And Joel was like,
With the-
protecting them from above with a sniper, and it was like, I mean, Joel was perfect shot like so many times where he hit them, perfect headshots.
You can feel his frustration too.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
Yeah.
like
oh,
what?
Can we
Like
talk
I
about
gotta
that?
stay up here.
Yeah, that
Yep.
noise that the sniper makes when he reloads it is the exact noise in the game that the rifle makes, and I think that was like that just added like nervousness to the whole thing because he has to keep reloading it.
Yeah.
And you know he wants to get down there, but he can't because he's
Yeah.
gonna be better helping them from
Yes.
up above. So
I know.
and then Ellie goes and she's got the knife, like you said, and she
Look.
like finds Sam and Henry. And what does she do? She like pretty much shivs them with her knife. She takes out 2 clickers, like nothing. Like she has just adrenaline and just like takes them out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And like that was awesome.
she goes for the soft points in the lower base of the skull and the
Like she
neck
knew
area,
where to go.
just like in
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah,
Just like in
you
the
know
game, because
exactly.
those clickers, that fungus is built up and turned into almost something of an armor on their heads and their face. So very very realistic. It's very realistic.
Very,
Like,
really.
very comparable to the game.
Yeah.
That is, yeah. Like a lot of the memes my husband was telling me, he's like, a lot of the memes is like they said, like he hasn't stopped and like upgrade his weapons and like build and stuff. Like his what do they call those? What are the nail bomb? Like
Right.
like where's the nail bomb, dude? He hasn't thrown not even one. I want to see that.
Where's the workbench? Where's the parts?
Right? And
Yeah.
the tunnels, he throws few of those nail, like there's
Mhm.
like you're able to use some of the nail bombs. Where are you?
Speaking of traps, really quick, Jackson had a really big complaint last week of how somebody would set up all the glass all over the floor inside the room where they were sleeping, but not set up glass outside of the room. Well, Jackson will be happy when he watches this episode and watches this on replay to see that Joel not only filled the whole room where they were sleeping, but the entire hallway out there, and they portrayed that. Then
Yes.
he
Right.
put glass so far out that he actually alerted Sam and Henry so early in the hallway that they never heard that glass pop.
Mhm.
Right.
So when they saw that, that's when they changed up how they were stepping and walking. So one of Jackson's biggest complaints, or one of his hilarious complaints, in my opinion, that he went over the top on was that, and then they actually answered that quite a bit. Speaking of
Right.
traps.
Like right there, there's your answer.
Yeah.
But so you were showing the other one when she finally attacks that knowing lady, which is like, dog, finally. Finally.
Yeah.
she's out.
Yeah, you see what was it? Was Pierce? Was that his name? No, what was his name? Perry.
Jeffrey.
Oh, Harry, yeah.
Perry in
Perry.
Perry in the show, and this is where he gets ripped, just absolutely ripped in half, and then the little girl is chasing Ellie, and then ends up, then she's like, "Oh, you're not getting away. Like I'm coming, you guys. There's no way you guys are getting away from me. Like all this stuff is going on, and all she's worried about is getting them, and like it's like, oh my god, like like know the room here, like you're about to die, like there's a fire, all your people are dying.
Exactly. She didn't care about, if she cares so much, she didn't care about her people like dying, like
Right.
and also like how did they get, I mean, I understand that they have survived so long and they got taken down pretty fast. I understand there was way too many for them to handle, but it's like freaking retreat, like leave, don't try to like kill them all, you can't, like
And the crazy thing is some of the ones that did ran back towards Kansas City. And where did all the infected start running towards? Kansas City.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's what Fedra was doing for them, was keeping that place safe. So you said it's only been 11 days since they took over from Fedra, but they still know like to stay in their boundary. They keep the infected out, and they to catch Sam and Henry and of course Joel and Ellie, they broke all the rules to go chase them. And then just because exactly, and that messed up everything to get
it just takes one to be going back infected.
One mistake. Yeah.
They're all done. Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
That's crazy.
So
Andy,
I think I've procrastinated as much as I possibly could to get to the last big portion of the show, and I don't even know how to deliver this besides I mean, we can compare it to the game a little bit. They finally make their way, and it was interesting. I like that they portrayed this in a not necessarily seedy, but a rundown, basically $40, $80 a night hotel kind of situation on the side of the road. What's very realistic for that Midwest America Route 66 highway system out there.
Mhm.
Because in the game, they made it to the radio tower that was supposedly stocked with supplies where Henry and Sam's group was based at and kind of searching out from there. So it kind of brought Henry and Sam back to that, but this was a little bit more, I guess you'll say, intimate or a little bit more realistic, if you will.
Right.
Yeah, more realistic. Yeah. Um, I don't know I don't know, Savannah. You want to start? You start.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so something that I think was really amazing and like made me want to cry was like when Sam pulls up his pants leg and you see that he's been bitten, and she automatically jumps into action and is like, I can cure you, like, don't worry. She's not scared. She's like, I've got you, it's all good. And she cut her hand and tried to put her blood with his blood and tried to heal him. And I just thought that was so special because it really shows, especially when you get to like, spoiler, when you get to like part 2, she's a very hardened individual. She's very tough, and you don't see a lot of emotion from her like you do in the first game and the first show. And I think that's so special that you still see that even though she's been through horrible circumstances and just horrible situations, she's seen people get blown up, killed, clickers, infected, she still is so caring and loving, and humanity hasn't stripped that from her yet. And I think that's so special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The stark comparison here of innocence versus she knows what's going to happen, and he doesn't. There's a vast difference here.
They're bonding. The adults are bonding in one room, and the kids are bonding over here, and they're communicating with this little pad, and they're talking to each other, and something you see on his face, on Sam's face, the whole time that something's going on. Then he finally asks her, like, what happens? Like, does the person gone? Does the person go away when they turn? I can't remember his exact words, but he asks her that, and she's like, why? And then he shows her, and then
Yeah.
immediately she jumps into action, and she thinks she's gonna save him, and that's all her mind is. She has no thought, totally selfless, cuts her hand right open, and tries to, use her blood to save him, and it's
Yeah.
a very we know it's not going to work, but I mean, it's so selfless of her to do
I
that.
felt like the bond was closer between them in the show too. You see them bond,
Yeah.
of course, in the game, but like it just felt more special for some reason in the show, and just to see it felt worse. I don't know, it felt
Yeah.
even more upsetting than it did
See,
in the game.
and for me, because I feel it, he's so adorable. Uh, and yeah, like so the stuff that they're talk about, like that's the same as the game, minus like she doesn't know that he got bitten, right? Like she in the game, he doesn't show her. But for me, again, it didn't. I feel like if they would have made this 2 episodes and see more of that, I guess bonding or something, like care for the character a little bit more. Because even though like on the game they're not together for that long, like it just feels like because the way the game is, it just feels longer and you feel a little bit more, but because it felt so rushed for me. And again, I think I ruined it for myself by watching the other part. I didn't feel that much of that connection, like, or make me feel like I don't know, like different. It was definitely sad and but it didn't hit me like how I wanted it to make me feel when I watched the game.
Yeah.
And I was still, I don't know why, I was still kind of hoping that her mixing, because they changed that. I'm like, it will work.
Maybe
Well,
it'll help. Maybe it'll work.
Yeah.
is this going to make her question herself or her immunity now
No.
at this point going forward in the show? One,
Mhm.
two, are they trying to subtly fix, or are they trying to subtly deliver how much time is happening during this? Because he was bitten in the ankle/leg, and if we remember from episode 1, the Fedra poster said what 2 to 3 days for a leg or an arm bite, and outer extremity was a day or two. And it's nighttime in the motel here, but did they travel for a day or two in between the last
Yeah, they
scene
did.
outside of Kansas City? That's unknown to us, because maybe it's because he's so young and he's such a smaller child.
Yeah.
Maybe it spreads that fast, but like there's kind of a duality in
That's
my head
true.
based on the timing, because as like you said, Lucy, they're trying to condense things. Are they trying to condense the travel moments a little bit too? I wonder. But can we appreciate, or I just want to say how much I appreciate how amazing this actor is, because every bit of concern that he portrays is not even for himself, it's for Ellie this entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's such a cute kid. Like I'm telling you, even like when he in the interview, I'm like, oh, I wanted to cry for him. Like I
He
was
knocked
like,
it
oh, he's
out of the park. Like he absolutely crushed
such a
this
great
role.
actor.
Yeah,
Yes,
he absolutely crushed it.
And you know what else makes that scene so sad is like he's still wearing, you can still see the outline of his like Super Sam little paint like job that Henry gave it. Oh my God, it broke my heart.
He like, and it makes me mad that I wish it would have hit me harder. Like, again, I don't think it's so much because of the show, it's because of my fault, by watching it.
I think you're spoiling it for yourself by watching the game stuff, Lucy.
Yeah,
I think
and it's
that's
like
what's
because
happening.
I'm trying to get ahead of myself, and it's like, oh, one more, like I can't, like.
Well, you also want that refresher too, right?
Yeah, like because we couldn't remember some parts of when they meet or something, and then we're like, oh, let's watch it, and then we're like, yeah, that's not good. But yeah, so now we just said we're not gonna watch more, but yeah, like it's still like, because I saw, like, again, like, my friend was saying she doesn't know anything about the game or anything. She was like, oh my God, like it hit me, I can't stop crying. And I was just like, oh, like I was waiting like for that feeling again, and it's just kind of like I ruined it.
Oh my gosh.
Right here, and I think it is because he's a kid. Like he's younger, it's a lot smaller, so it traveled through his body a lot quicker. Makes a lot of sense when you said that.
During the official podcast for episode 5, Neil and Craig talk about casting this role and how difficult it was. Somebody they wanted to be a little bit smaller than Ellie, a little bit younger, but also speak ASL and also BASL, Black American Sign Language, and American Sign Language, and they absolutely hit the nail on the head with this actor. But this is where it starts for me. Like I can appreciate what Lucy's saying about maybe kind of not quite being as connected or as punched in the heart, so to speak. But this is right here, the little boy with the hoodie and the coat on, because I see this every day walking to and from a bus stop with my own son. And this is where this starts to hit me real hard. And then
dang, now you're gonna get me, Andy. Now I'm gonna watch it differently.
my wife and I cried from this point till the end of the episode. Like we cried more than when Sarah died at the beginning, and harder because of how much we related with it. Potentially, what if it was us and our son in this scenario? Ouch.
Sorry, I'm just telling my husband what you just said.
I mean, so go. If you guys want to add to that, please do.
It's just so like I will tell you, like I knew what was going to happen. I knew what was coming. It didn't matter. Like it still was so hard to watch, and so like and I think it was because for me a lot of it was because of that actor, because I liked him so much. Like they went all the way back like in this episode, and they started with him. They filled in all the gaps from the previous episode. So you saw what happened with them, how they ate the cans of food, how they survived, how they were together, how everything happened, and then like everything, like he's a little kid. Like there's not like he has so much ahead of him, but then he doesn't. All of a sudden,
They,
like it's
yeah,
over, and it's like
yeah,
it's heartbreaking, and it just hurts
yeah.
like so
And
much.
yeah, and see,
Oh,
like that's where I was kind of like hoping that maybe it will change. You know, hey, they changed about Bill. They could have changed it. Maybe it worked, and they can go their separate way. You know, I was just still kind of hoping for that. Like inside, like I was like, maybe it will change the story. Maybe they will go their separate way. You know, because on the on the game they're looking for the fireflies. You know, they're in here. They're just trying. They know that their people are gone. You know, the people that they were with, they're gone. So I don't know what was their plan
Yeah.
after. Um, so I was like, oh, maybe they'll go the separate. I was still hoping, but then seeing when Henry finds out what happened, it's just like his face, like seeing like actual person, kind of like shit. I fucked up. Like I felt
Yeah.
him. I felt him. Like I yeah.
That's the difference with this episode. Is this episode removes all hope.
Hmm.
Whereas, like I've talked about in the video game, Bill is still alive in the video game series. There's that glimmer of hope of potentially seeing Bill again, or
yeah.
somebody from that group, or Ellie revisiting and searching out Bill for support or help.
Hmm.
And there's that glimmer of hope in the game when it comes to Bill. Episode 3 removes all hope for
Yeah.
Bill
That's
and
true.
for Frank. This episode removes all hope for Sam and Henry. And this was incredibly difficult to watch because Neil Druckmann and Craig talked about how they're going to keep even the OG original mega fans like us that have played the game on the edge of our seat. And they do this in partly because he's deaf. So
Hmm.
this entire time after he turns, Ellie's protected because he's deaf.
Hmm.
He's not going to pick up on her in the room, doesn't know that she's there.
Oh, I didn't think
Ellie,
about that.
in this version, she survives because he's deaf and doesn't hear her. And it's not until she reaches out and touches his shoulder that he spins and realizes that Ellie's there and then attempts to attacks her.
Hmm. Dang, I didn't think about that.
Can you
That's
can you imagine if he like obviously this wouldn't happen, but if he turned into a clicker, like would he still hear with echolocation or like would he just not hear anything at all?
Wow.
Ooh,
I just thought about
I don't
that.
think how could he?
I don't
Isn't
think
it-
so.
echolocation is hearing, right? I think.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
That's the unless there's something about the fungus that changes the whole front of their head
Yeah.
into a receiver, so to speak, because it's directly connected to the brain. That's one aspect, maybe. But what up, Chicago, Schultze?
Chicago.
Mark Legion. We're at the very tail end here to wrap this up. And don't hesitate if you guys gotta bounce. If you need to throw up the deuces and say goodnight and go, that's fine. We're gonna give everybody their time that they need to convey what they want to about this last part, because as we've said, this episode removes all hope for these two characters. There's none left.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Who goes first?
So like the next part right after this, you see Henry, and the way he played this part right here, the way what like this actor, I think like did I'm gonna say like he did a better job than the game did here,
Yeah.
because you saw it on his face, you saw it the way he moved, what he was like, how he was acting, like he was just devastated. He was lost, devastated, confused. Like, what did I just do? What just happened? And I, I'm like, is he gonna? Is he? I knew, of course, I knew it was gonna happen, but I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna shoot Joel. Oh my god, is he gonna shoot? Like he's gonna hit Ellie. Like I didn't, like you felt that, like he gave that feeling of just being so the devastation that like there's that he felt after doing that was just insane. He did such a good job.
Mm-hmm.
They did,
Mm-hmm.
and props to Bella Ramsey here too.
Yeah,
Dang. Yeah.
so good.
Well, and remember in the game when Henry shoots Sam and kills him, he does the same type of reaction, like, what did I do? But then he starts to blame Joel. Remember, he points the gun at Joel and says, this is all your fault. And that was horrifying because you really didn't know what was going to happen, and then something so tragic and horrible ended up happening, But really, when you think about it, like, God forbid we're in this situation, but like, what other way could he have handled it? I mean, because he couldn't save him, it's not like he could have grabbed him off of Ellie and, oh, it's okay, they're there, he's not a human really anymore. It's taken over now,
He's gone. Yeah.
Well, we talked about how his younger brother was dependent on him, but it was a symbiotic relationship because his whole life was his little brother. Everything he did was for his little brother.
Like he has nothing to live for.
Yep, he had, he screwed over other people. He did everything he could to get the medicine, to take care of his brother. He had everything to live for was right there, and now it's gone in an instant.
Yeah,
and so he didn't know what to do.
Yeah, this is affectionately a mirror episode where Sam and Henry mirror Joel and Ellie, and what happens to Sam and Henry here shakes Joel to his core, his foundation and his core. As we see after this, how that plays out. There's a scene there that I'd like to bring up before we call it a night, but here you can see him, fog of war. He reacted to save Ellie, essentially, at the cost of his brother's life, and he's been that protector, and now he's failed at that role.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna change my mind again, guys. Okay, 8.5. You know what? You guys changed my mind. No, because the actors are amazing. I love it. I love the way they're acting. It's not their fault that they're kind of rushing it, and for me, like it rushing it and missing some of the things that I feel that is important that I would like to see. But the actors are freaking amazing. I love seeing Joel, playing. I mean, what's his name? Playing. I'm horrible with names of the actors. So playing their characters. I love seeing the actors playing that character. That they're playing them very well. I love that who they picked for Bill. I love everybody. Like they're, even Tommy. Like even though they're like different race, like they're not. Instead of Tommy, he's Tomas. He should be Tomas. But still, like even though they changed them, like I love the way Joel. He was cast perfectly, in Ellie too. For me, like I think everybody, they have done such a great job playing the role, and I just wish those little parts that they will stay, like main important stuff that they show. But I'm loving the show, but I hope they don't keep doing that. And because it does. I'm like, seeing with this episode, I'm like, oh God, why? Like why did they cut so much? I get disappointed, and I'm like, so now
then they deliver something like this, and Mark delivers Mark from Legion of Comics delivers this spot on. When his brother died, all of his sins were for nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So true, man. So true.
Yeah. But
that's the perfect way to describe it.
Still, I'm gonna watch next week. I'll see what am I gonna complain about next week.
No, you have to go in with the objective, like what do I like about it, what do I not like about it, and that's nothing. Like that's totally what you have to do.
Yeah, and I like that you guys did, Andy, like you guys hit like, everybody like hit those points that is like that I didn't catch. I'm like, oh, that's right, I like that. Like they did change it, but they kind of added it in a certain different way, and it's like I didn't catch those things. So
they're taking some things away from us, but they're giving us so many other things too. So like it's a trade-off for sure.
Yeah, and obviously, like you guys were saying, they have to change some stuff because, like, from the game stuff that we already seen it, so they're gonna change a little bit, something kind of for us new. So
right, and I have to mention for our buddy Jackson. Just like he will say, like, you can't spend 9 episodes walking around opening drawers and
Yeah.
finding bullets. So
Right.
My God.
True. Yes.
If-
So-
Yes.
So
and
my
half of them
question,
being empty.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's true. So especially if you're playing grounded. Um, so my question is, because we're talking about this timeline really quick, what do you guys think the last episode's going to be about? Because I was hoping, spoiler. I was hoping that the very, no, don't say it. Don't say it. Oh.
Be
No,
careful with what you're gonna say because there's people in here that haven't played the game.
I'm not
So
going to
just
say it.
Yeah.
I have an expectation that a couple of you know what I hope
Let-
happens.
Let's save it for post. If you guys are willing to hang out after we end the episode, we can
Yeah.
spend 5 or 10 minutes covering that. But
Okay.
if this show doesn't win or get nominated for every award out there, I'll never understand who's doing the award ceremonies, because
True.
you can see these actors processing all the way through fight or flight into loss, every emotion, anger and grief and loss, all in a fraction of a half a minute. And I can't even bring myself to bring his brother up laying on the floor. I don't even want to bring that up on screen, because then I just, and then the immediately just to focus on this, I hate to focus on this too much, the determination right there in his face when he's decided what he's going to do, and that he's not going to be able to carry on. And there's one last scene or one last clip. Oh, I just missed it. There's one last one. We get to see a different side of Ellie here that we have not seen before, that doesn't get talked about a lot, is Ellie in pure hopeless fear. When this is how
Mhm.
incredible of an actor Bella is.
yeah.
Just the sheer loss of hope and fear taking over, that there's this hopelessness now going forward. Because the first one of her face that I put up was when he took his brother's life and she reacted, and you could see the pain of losing a friend. This was the pain of losing all hope, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about the two different reactions. Yeah, that is true.
She has from even up to the last episode, but she has definitely like taken. I mean, I love Ashley Johnson, and I mean, she's gonna be Ellie forever, but she has done an amazing job of portraying this character, as much as Pedro, as much as anybody else in this show. She has definitely
Pedro,
done
that's his name.
Pedro
Sorry.
Pascal, yes. She's done a fantastic and amazing job portraying Ellie. So
Mhm.
I'm very, very happy with the choice of her as Ellie.
Yeah.
Legion.
Legion. I know already.
Yeah, no,
He's going to
Legion. We're good. No spoilers. Not
No,
like
no.
that anyway.
No, not tonight. Yeah, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, there's definitely a change in the dynamic between Joel and Ellie after this, as she leaves that, not Etch a Sketch, but I forget what those are called. I remember as a kid, I just can't remember the name.
And I can't remember
Right.
what it's called.
It's coming. It's coming before I try to jump away or jump fast, because they do a really good job of actually portraying, not just portraying that, but they're here. I'll just stop here. And just leaves it right there on the gravesite. And this is what's part of the interesting part of this, is you see Joel finishing up here, and you actually see Ellie start to leave
Yeah.
without Joel.
She brings his stuff and drops her off. Says, "Come on, let's go. I'm done with this. I want to go." So she's the one that wants to move on and put this behind him as fast as she can.
You kind of
she's
see
done
that
with it.
role reversal, whereas it's been Joel been the head of that push to move on and not cope with feelings and not process the feelings. And here Joel is actually processing for once, and Ellie, I almost said Joel Ellie. Ellie is the one that wants to push forward and move away, and
Yeah.
she leaves the note of "I'm sorry," and it was so heartbreaking. We both cried.
Oh, yeah, that
hurt.
that did get me a little bit. Like I was like, oh man, that sucks. Yeah, I'm sorry right there. And you can tell when you guys were saying, like, you can change right there. You can see right there that it's like the hope, the change of she's gonna, like how you were saying, Savannah, like that she's gonna be more tough from, like, kind of like have a wall right there, like you can see is it's gonna be different from now on. Yeah.
Not
Losing her innocence, or growing, or hardening, and being shelter, or not shelter, but blocking off things because of loss.
Yeah.
And she's like, you could see, like, that shot that you showed earlier with on her face was kind of like, that's where it happened. It hurt her so much
Mhm.
that she doesn't want to be hurt like that anymore.
Yeah. That's where we've been
Mhm.
talking in these 5 episodes, where Double O and Jackson and I have been talking, Savannah and Mama, where we were saying that they're delivering her loss of innocence in slices and layers, instead of in the
Mhm.
video game there was like 2 or 3 impactful
Mm-mm.
things that took place, where we got to see like her loss of innocence, where they're delivering it in slivers or layers. Magic slate, that's it. That's what
Yes,
he was writing on, the magic slate.
yes. Thank you, Legion.
But now that we kind of finish off the episode with that distance between the two of them now, where she wants to leave early, like we talked about, and then the reconnection of them together heading out, which, that's how I feel.
Yep. And they're just walking now. I mean, there's no vehicle. They don't have a bike. They got to just walk. No horse, nothing. And they got to make it to Jackson. So they're in Kansas City right now, and they're on their way to Wyoming.
No supplies, or
Yeah.
extremely low supplies.
Right.
Endure and survive.
Yeah. They lost their truck. They lost all their food. They lost everything on the way, and they're definitely not going backwards to get it. So.
Yep, and it cuts right to credits from there. So, final thoughts from you guys going around the horn. Final thoughts. Did any part of this discussion change your grades, and did anything leave you with more or less hope for next week?
Well, obviously, you guys I changed from 7.5 to a whole grade up.
Wow, full point. That's
Right?
awesome. That's amazing.
And yeah, obviously, like, even though, like, I'm like, oh, I think what are they gonna change now? I'm excited for next episode. I can't wait. And I just, yeah, I can't wait for the next episode. Hmm.
Yep, this did not change my grade, but I feel it more alignment because I've had so many. I'm so glad you guys threw everything out there because I feel like I just have so many things to think about after we're done, and so many things moving forward that I'm sure I'll have questions about. So I'm gonna keep it at a 9.6. I still think it was excellent. I'm telling you, the kid clicker and the bloater made it for me. Like, it was like a match made in heaven. So I'm good.
My grade didn't change, but I definitely loved hearing some of your input. The ish part, like, really is making me
Oh
think.
yeah.
Like, I'm definitely like that. That's definitely made me think about that guy, the sniper, sitting up there. And like, just being able to talk it out, and hearing what you guys have to say makes me enjoy the episode so much more. So I am definitely looking forward. We're like, so this was the middle episode, like number 5, 4 before this and 4 after this. So we have 4 more to go. I'm still curious to see where we're gonna end up. I have my doubts that we're gonna make it all the way to the end, but I have a feeling we're gonna change the story some. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited either way. What happens? Everything I've seen so far, I trust uh, Druckmann and Mason, and they've done a fantastic job so far. So I have no reason to believe that they're gonna let us down. So
And add more runners and clickers and all
yes,
that.
right. Give us
That's
more,
all I want to see more.
more
Come
infected,
on.
all kinds.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh, you
You're
mute,
muted.
Andy. You
You're muted.
hear you.
Yes, thank you. Fingers crossed. I think this changes my grade slightly to I'm leaning more towards that 9.6 now, whereas I sympathize, not just sympathize, but I do agree with Mama Comics on the aspect of them trying to do too much in such a little space. And I think that they wanted to do more. I just don't feel like HBO and the people writing the checks and doing the paperwork wanted to push past 9 episodes. They weren't sure
Mhm.
if the fan base was going to not just follow, but grow. It's
Mhm.
obviously something that is a sleeping giant that has been awoken. There's so many areas and avenues that they can go in this Last of Us universe, and I think the story of Joel and Ellie is just the icing or just the beginning of what could be a larger
Tip
universe.
of the
And
iceberg.
yep, just
Yeah.
the tip of the iceberg. I'm excited for next week. I'm a little worried and a little concerned just because we all know what's coming up and what's ahead for our two characters. Maybe some happy times, but we know what they're facing to some degree coming up in 4 short episodes.
Mhm.
On
Dang.
that note, we could talk for a whole nother hour on this, but let's wrap it up. A big shout out to Lucy, Mama Comics,
Thank
and
you.
to Savannah of the Spooky Seance for joining us. 2 mega Last of Us fans, and let's go around the horn. Lucy, man, where can people find you, and what do you have going on next?
Well, you guys can find me tomorrow. Well, on Instagram, Mama Comics, and you can find me on Nerdvana's channel. Tomorrow we go live at 6:30 Pacific Standard Time, and every Friday. And on the channel we have other shows. Other guys are doing their stuff, but me and the girls every Tuesday and Friday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can find me there.
There's that link for Nearing Nirvana in the chat right now, and all the links
Thank
are
you.
down below for anybody watching this on the replay.
Thank you.
Awesome. I look forward to I always have to catch you guys on the rewind because you guys are always kind of going on during that prime time where I'm either going on as well or I'm with
Yeah.
other friends, but I always catch the replays and
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciate it.
No, thank you. That's good. I mean, that's it's YouTube. You can catch it anytime. It's good.
Right?
So you're talking about Cassie this week?
Yeah,
Cassie
tomorrow.
Lang?
Yeah,
Nice.
Cassie
Okay,
Lang. Yeah,
awesome.
which it's kind of hard because I don't know much about her, honestly. So I've been doing my research. I've been reading.
I know bits and pieces, so it's good. It's always I love the way you guys break it down and tell us about the books and tell us about the characters. So
Thank you.
I
Appreciate
enjoy catching those the breakdowns of like every. I mean, you guys do a thorough job of breaking it down, so it's pretty
Oh,
awesome.
thanks. Jen
Yeah.
helps a lot
The
too.
research, yeah.
Yeah, she likes to go stuff that people don't talk about, so that's good. We like to be a little different, not the same thing that everybody's. It's like we like to look for stuff, new stuff.
It's funny. One time I had your show on the iPad, and I think I was prepping or doing some meal prep or something, and Savannah's like, "Is that women, girls talking about comics?" I was like, "Yep, that's their whole
Yeah,
gimmick. That's
you
what
can
they
come and
do."
join us.
I'm like, "That's what
Yeah,
they do."
yeah.
And
I love seeing girls, women get out there and talk about all the things. It makes me super happy. Don't get me
She was
wrong,
shocked.
when the guys do it too, it's great. But I mean, like, just hearing all the girls together, I was like,
She was. I'm like, it's all
Yeah.
women on this show, and they're talking about comics. And she was just shocked.
Yeah,
It was
join
great.
us one day. Maybe you can join us on the show. Join us, in the chat. Like we love to see more girls also like joining like our community, like our near Nirvana family. It's awesome. But yeah, sorry, Andy. We're like taking.
No, you're good. That gave me time to pull up Savannah's links.
Yeah.
oh yeah. So yes, you can catch me at Instagram and Etsy. It's Instagram.com/the spooky seance. Same with Etsy. Yeah, shoot me a message. I like to talk to people. I like saying hi to people.
I'll be
Yeah.
messaging you.
I will be messaging you too and follow
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
We have to take a moment really quick and do a quick shout out. Like those links for Savannah for the Spooky Seance are in the live chat right down there, but you guys have to check out her Instagram and all the cool stuff that she does over there. And I know my wife's ordered several things, and I just want to take a moment to say how amazing the customer service is. Sarah ordered something Star Wars related that I think a week or two after she picked it up from the convention for you, it came apart or came undone or a small part broke, and you're like, oh, hey, just mail it back to me and I'll repair it and I'll send it right back to you. And I think within 2 or 3 weeks, she had it back and ready to go, all fixed and repaired. And I love the chicken nuggets.
That is so cool.
Those chicken nuggets sell more than
Nice.
anything. It's absolutely ridiculous.
That's my honestly, the chicken nuggets are my best seller, followed by the Buffet F Psyduck and the Buffet F Pikachu. So
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
Do
I
you
don't know
make
if you can
earrings?
see. Oh,
Just
sorry.
kidding.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Chicken nugget earrings.
Yes, I want to. That's next on the hit list.
That is awesome.
Which, please?
Oh my god, I need to get that for my sister-in-law.
Oh my god, I love it.
Oh, there it is. Sarah asking if you have the Last of Us keychains planned.
Oh, there you go.
Nice question. I love it. Thank you, Sarah. Yes, I am definitely 100% going to.
Aw.
Yes, I am definitely going to do Last of Us ones. I've been waiting for like the right time. I think it's the right time. So, yes.
Okay. Yes.
You'll get
Awesome.
real
Oh my
fast.
god. I will I'm gonna share that. I will share your page.
I will say this: if you make some Last of Us stuff, you better be ready for the next convention, because I think you're gonna be on the forefront of the Last of Us cool stuff that people can pick up. You know what I mean? Without, because let's be honest, when it comes to Last of Us fans, if they're at a comic book convention, a lot of people aren't gonna be in that arena to buy a $600-$800 comic book.
Right.
This
Mhm.
is getting to
Or a
be
big statue or like anything like that. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Yes. I need to order some for my sister-in-law. She's a teacher's aide, so that'll be cool for her. She needs something.
Tell Lucy about the that lady with the chicken nugget and the
Oh,
teacher.
yeah, I'll share a video with you later. But it's a
Okay.
teacher with with those chicken nuggets, and she's like talking to her class, and her whole class is like chanting the chicken nugget. It's really funny. I'll share it on my page. I'll
Yes,
share it.
let's
It's
see.
ridiculous.
That's
So
awesome.
funny.
All sorts of amazing nerd nostalgia
That is
greatness on
cool.
the Etsy and on the Instagram. So make sure you guys are following Savannah at the Spooky Seance, because you don't want to miss out on this awesome stuff. So cool. Thank you, Savannah, so much for making time for us tonight, and Lucy, and we'll finish it out with Double O Brother Man. Where can people find you next?
I will be live on Wednesday night on the Totally Awesome Coolest Show on Renovision. We go live at 9:15 on Wednesday nights, and we talk about the news, we talk about comics, we review some books, and we're doing a tier list. I'm not sure exactly what we're covering this week. It might be some flash news, or it might be something really wacky that I'm not. We'll talk about it Wednesday. And then also we'll be appearing live at the Great Lakes Comic Con, which is on February 24th and 25th, I believe. The Friday and Saturday at the end of the month, which is in Warren, Michigan. So we will be live set up there. We're very excited getting things ready for that. So we'll be set up at that show. So yeah, the big show coming up. So super excited. Hopefully I get to see Andy there.
Yeah, I have no excuses to not make the trek over there. It's a short run. I just made the trek to NWI Comic Con this past weekend for one of my favorite local, that was Northwestern Indiana Comic Con. I got to see Chip Getler and a bunch of other great community members. Josh Oliver, who was in the chat earlier, was there. A lot of really cool people. So I'm looking forward to it. I got no
Okay,
excuses.
Sarah saying, don't forget to move your beer out of the way and show off your new.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, that's right. A little Valentine's Day gift from the wife extraordinaire was
Nice.
a Firefly, officially licensed Firefly shirt from my favorite brand of t-shirts, the Super Soft. I think it's Next Level.
Nice.
Nice.
Nice. That's I mentioned it like before the ladies came on, and I was like, oh, nice shirt. He's like, yeah, early Valentine's gift. I was like, now
That's
the beer's
Yep.
covering it up. So
It's becoming a theme of mine that I for every show that I do, I have a theme based shirt for that show, and I just wash it and set it up right here at the desk for me, ready to go.
Nice.
But super cool.
I have my Cricut. That's what my project right here for my son's school. But I did get some images so I can make a shirt.
Very
Nice.
nice.
Nice shirt, but I've been
Gotta share
slacking
that
it.
on IG when you get it done.
Yes.
So Andy, you didn't mention what's coming up on your channel.
Yeah, Monday nights here, The Last of Us content. There's only going to be 4 more episodes to cover. We're definitely going to be doing a wrap-up series, not really a series, but an episode or 2 where any special guests that have been on are welcome to come back on and share their final thoughts, and we can collectively mourn or celebrate, depending on how this is going to go, our interactions with this series and our hopes and dreams for what's going to be season 2 and potentially the discussion of game 3 and the multiplayer and the PC version coming out as well. So that's going to be every Monday night going forward, at least for the next 4, 5, 6 weeks. Tuesday night, Simpleman's Comics has passed the torch for Comic News Weekly over to this channel. So you'll find everybody that's been on there every week for the last year and a half plus. Brian, because we got 2 Brians, myself and Ryan. Brian, Ryan, and Andy. Wow. Okay. Yep. Simpleman's Comics. Beyond Wednesdays, Brian McClay, Ryan from Rhino's Comics, and myself still every Tuesday, Comics News Weekly. So we are scheduled and ready to go. Comic News Weekly. That's hit the notification button over there because YouTube's notification system is still broken. If I want to watch any Nearing Nirvana stuff, I have to go to make sure I go to each individual episode and click notify. Otherwise, I never get the notifications.
Same.
Wednesday is New Comic Book Day as well. We do that here. And I've got at least 1 box of CGC books because the year of 2023 is that of the comic community. And every time I do a live CGC unboxing on my channel, we give away a graded comic book as well. And you got to be in the live chat for that. So we're trying to build as much momentum to have as many people show up so they get more opportunities to win. But that means also for the entire year, all channel monetization, all ad revenue, all super chats, all super stickers, everything's going to be compiled together and it's going to be used to purchase 1 or several graded comic books that are either going to be bronze, copper, silver, whatever money can come together from the channel. We're going to spend it on comic books and we're going to give those away at the end of the year for everybody.
Nice.
That's amazing.
That's awesome. That's so nice, Andy.
I love it.
So we're looking forward to having fun with that. But that's it. Another great week, another fantastic episode, and gut-wrenchingly sad as well. But you guys know how I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to go peace out. I'm going to go pinkies out. I'm going to catch y'all on the flip side for the next one. And remember the most important part all day, every day. Stay original and take care of each other because we are all we have.
Yes.
Don't forget. Endure and survive.
Endure and survive.
Be excellent to each other. And party on, dudes.